Gain 30 degrees.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it's brutal out there.
Yeah, we're gonna go from 93 to 62.
Well, it's gonna rain overnight
And Brendan,
and tomorrow.
And Saturday,
Brendan,
Yeah.
Yes.
who's going to
But there's
discuss
an
the
hour of
infrastructure
thunderstorm coming.
I think it's nice.
the
Thunderstorms.
priority, just a
Actually.
priority?
I was-
Okay, I'll just go for it. Is anybody leading?
At the end. I done with the key.
Okay, I will.
Benjamin Franklin.
60 mph wind.
Oh, that one's not good.
Do you wanna slide a chair in here?
I'm just over here. So just let everyone know, not over there, guys.
Maybe
Muted,
we-
but we're and we are ready.
God bless you.
Okay. And
From your
in the
mouth,
interest of,
God's ears.
letting everyone get on their way, we will,
Show
start.
misunderstanding. I'm for preservation. You just got it
We
wrong.
will start now. Okay.
Okay.
Welcome to the May 20th, 2026 meeting of the Executive Committee. My name is John Keller and I am the first vice chair of CV6, sitting in for Sandy McKee, who cannot be with us this evening. Tonight, we are joined by District Manager Jesus Perez and Assistant District Manager Brendan Berth. This meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Members of the public who are attending virtually, you can raise any questions or comments that you have through the Q&A feature of Zoom. Members of the public who are here in person, you can raise any questions that you have by raising your hand. If there's time following the committee's discussion, we'll field questions from the committee. And I remind all members of the committee that New York state law requires committee members who are not able to attend the meeting in person to have their cameras on and their first and last names displayed from the time the meeting is called to order until the meeting is adjourned. And for the record, CV6 Second Vice Chair Justin Goldberg will take minutes tonight. Okay, good. All right. We'll take the minutes tonight. Thank you. We'll now take attendance by roll call. Jesus or Brendan will call the roll. Jesus will call the roll.
Yes, I will. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you in person. I'm out of town on a family matter, so for the rest of the month. But I thank Brendan and Brian for holding down the fort so ably. All right, let's begin. Tanya Arias.
Present.
Thank you. Neil Barclay.
Present.
Thank you. Stuart Desser.
Here.
Thank you. Maya Donahue.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Fromowitz.
Present.
Thank you. Justin Goldberg.
Present.
Thank you. Rupal Kakad.
Present.
Thank you. John Keller.
Present.
Thank you. Anton Malner.
Here.
Thank you. Sandy McKee is absent. Alec Militek.
Present.
Thank you. Stephen Perez is not here. Reshma, are you here in his place?
Rishma's not here.
Reshma's not here.
Okay, so no one here from budget. Kat Valero is absent. Jerry Weinstein.
Present.
Thank you. With 10 of 14 members duly present, you have quorum.
Thank you. The agenda for tonight's meeting is reflected on the screen before you. If there is no objection, we will adopt the agenda. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting the agenda, please raise your hand. Seeing no objections, the agenda for tonight's meeting is adopted. The minutes from the January 21st, February 18th, and March 18th meetings were distributed ahead of time by the board office. If there is no objection, we will adopt all 3 minutes as drafted. Members of the committee, if you object to adopting any set of these minutes, please raise your hand and indicate which set of minutes you want amended. Seeing no objections, the minutes from the January 21st, February 18th, and March 18th minutes are adopted, and they'll soon be available on the CV6 website. So in order to conduct an efficient meeting, we'll observe a few ground rules. No one may speak until granted the floor. Committee members who are here in person, if you have a question about committee business or wish to make a motion, please raise your hand and I'll identify you so you can speak. Committee members unable to attend in person, if you have a question about committee business, you may raise your hand through Zoom and I'll identify you so you can speak. All committee members, it is important, extremely important, that only one person speak at a time so that members of the public watching at home can understand what's being said by each committee member. The chat function for committee members present via Zoom should not be used for committee business or questions about agenda topics. All such remarks should be made on the record by raising your hand through Zoom. Chat should only be used to alert us to any technical difficulties you're having or state in writing information that's already been reported aloud during the meeting. Sandy is chair of the committee and she is not present, and I would waive the chair's report because I think everyone is pretty up to date on what's going on. I'll be going to the Borough Board meeting tomorrow in Sandy's place, and if anyone has anything they want to raise at the board at that meeting, I'd be very happy to do that. Okay. And now we will hear from Jesus Perez, district manager. Is this come before the discussion of the email?
After.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay. You've all had a copy. I hope you've had a chance to read the email use and retention policy that Sandra has been very kind to facilitate getting in process. And I know we've discussed it at prior meetings, so I have a couple of comments based on reading it, but which I've already mentioned to Sandra, and nothing substantive. And so I'll hand it over to Sandra and we can have a discussion of the email policy.
I don't really have anything to say. I tried to incorporate the elements of the conversation that we had last month into the overall policy and create a framework that allows for whether or not everyone has an actual provided account today, tomorrow, or there would be a mechanism actually for people to comply with the policy. I know, John, you mentioned, I agree with you. I think there needs to be a degree of training internally within the board of what is appropriate and how we would actually conduct ourselves. But I don't know if there's any specific questions or concerns or thoughts.
They open it. Tanya?
I read it, the forwarding, I was a little confused about the forwarding. So when we get emails such as, executive committee meeting or land use or budget or whatever, and that doesn't count, right, for forwarding? What counts for forwarding is really my question.
So, in an ideal world, everyone would have a provided account that would be maintained by the board office or by the agency. In this case, it's a very small agency. We don't have an HR team. We don't have an IT team within this agency. So it's a much more compacted thing. In that ideal world, you would have rules around retention automatically applied.
Okay.
So that would and can be put into effect with, for example, Jesus's email account because he has an official. I know we talked a little bit previously, Jason, and you talked about maybe there are ways that we can purchase accounts and provide them to members. That may or may not happen, but in either case, we want to make sure that there is a copy of the conversation, any kind of input into policy making. So that could either be done by, of course, having the office or part of the accounts that are already being covered under an archival policy copied, because then they would have a record of that conversation. But the kind of addendum part is that we could also create a dedicated email address that if you have like a Gmail account or an Outlook.com account and you want that to be recorded because it was part of the way we put together some policy around a major issue within our district, you could forward the end of that. You don't have to forward every single email, but you can forward the end of
The
that
whole-
thread.
Right.
So it would be archived as per the city requirements.
Okay,
I hope I answered your question.
sort of,
Okay.
but I'm talking more in terms of the actual content of the email. Like what, because a notification of a meeting, I mean.
No, so- So.
But if I email Alec or I email Maya that would need to be forwarded?
No,
No,
So you don't have to, so everything does not have to be kept. It's really designed to capture substantive information around policymaking in our case. There could be other situations, but for your purposes, I think it's really around policymaking. So if we're discussing land use or housing matters, and we're putting together something that would not be, because the open meetings law requires us to do that in the public thoroughfare. We can't do that in private, right? The intent of the open meetings law is that if we're talking about how we want to vote and how we think the district should advocate for X,
right,
we have to do that in a public thoroughfare kind of forum, with or without the public. So sometimes though, chairs of committees, for example, like last night, we were talking about collaboration between two different committees,
Right.
right? And so we have to draft a resolution together where we don't have to do every single word in a public meeting. But if there's a significant amount of source material input that's happening as part of that drafting, it probably should be kept because it's now influencing the ultimate outcome of the resolution. Of course, we'll still discuss the resolution publicly, but if the land use and the housing chairs want to say this should be included or this shouldn't be, the kind of deliberative process that comes forth through that should be captured. That's the intent.
I have a question about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what is considered foilable? Like, is everything foilable?
Yes, except the things that are not covered. So
Your point.
yeah, so it's FOIL, because it's a state one, not FOIA.
Yeah,
FOIA
yeah.
is the federal one.
Yeah.
Equivalent kind of thing, the state law versus the federal code. So things that are exempt are personnel matters, like social security number. So if you know, for whatever reason, you send me an email with your social security number, which you should never do. But
Right now, I mean,
Right.
not recommended.
right, and then someone said, provide me with all emails, you know, from you. I would have to exclude that or.
pretty
or
common
excuse
sense
me.
things,
Yeah.
basically.
So there's a few things like active investigations, personnel matters, kind of legally protected categories.
Yeah.
But other things, going back to like deliberative items, are technically.
Yeah, foilable, yeah.
But then who decides
That's
what's,
gonna be my
where
next
that line
question.
is? So like, let's
Right.
say we're talking about some issue between the two,
Right.
two committees, right? At some, like, I may think that, oh, this should be saved, but you're like, oh, no, this is just a thing here or there.
Right.
Right.
So who gets to, like, where's that line? Who decides what should be archived and what's not? Like, it's
Perfect
like a gray area where it's up for like, it's up to individual person to determine whether it's important enough or not.
So in our case, yes, because we don't have a managed system that does this automatically for us. Like if you were in finance and you were covered under SEC regulations, there would be like an IT department that actually secured that sort of email or documentation to make sure that you were compliant with the law. We don't have that in place, and as was pointed out, many people are using a personal email address, perhaps not dedicated just for the purposes of the board. So I think it becomes on the onus of the person to figure out, like, this is something that needs to be reported because it was part of the decision-making process and be recorded somehow. So there's like a framework to do that. There is some kind of stick, you know, so if you don't follow it, there is some language in here about potential, you know, whether it's an employee, potential dismissal, or something along the lines of the collective bargaining agreement, kind of disciplinary action. If it's a member, possible expulsion, because we have that in the bylaws. So yeah, there's no. Yeah, if you go to it, you can probably find it some, yeah, no, it's later, it's like towards the end. It's enforcement, it's 12. Section 12. Much further, 12, yeah.
Page 12?
Section 12, that page starts with 15, but really 16. Full enforcement.
There we go.
Tanya, you had another question.
Yeah, but this gives us a lot of, as Rupal was saying, there's a lot of discretion that comes into it, which, you know, is open to all kinds of interpretation, which I think now we fall into a bit of a trap. Unless it's clearly defined, would everyone having a cb6.org email help us in having this stay within the system? Instead of everyone having their individual, instead of Tanya Arias at Gmail or whatever, it's Tanya Arias at cb6.org.
It could facilitate technical compliance with it,
I think so.
depending how it's set up.
That's probably going to be. Because discretionary of what, you know, like I had a discussion with Zaya regarding a resolution, right? And we had 2 or 3 emails. Do we need to
Yeah.
forward that or?
Maybe it's, well, maybe we should go to section 6 and just kind of look at them together, the categories, because I think this does define it.
Okay.
I don't know if everyone's had a chance to the whole thing, I know it's a little lengthy, apologies. So section 6, right, so there's, the first one is district staff office, which includes the DM and any staff. And then it's separate by board chair, committee chairpersons, and regular members or all members just that fall into that category. So for example, we go to C, section C, which is committee chairpersons. So the intent is, again, if available, they use a structured email account. Until then, they should forward any committee related email from personal accounts to archives. It doesn't exist right now. This is just a, you know, concept
Okay.
right now, right?
Right,
And I just put a timeline, so it's not something that you think, oh, I'll just do that at the end of the year or something, because you won't remember at the end of the year, really. And then, so I think the kind of relevant information, is laid out further above this, in a couple of different areas, right? So if you go to 5, right above this, right, so we have, this actually, wait, it's backwards. That's wrong, that's for,
Standards of conduct.
yeah, so I'm sorry, under definitions, right, let me start at the top here. Section 3 definitions, right, so board business means any communication relating to the functions, duties, and activities of the Act 6, including but not limited to land use review, budget, service delivery, constituent service complaints, community deliberations, correspondence with elected officials, city agencies, and public in the person's capacity as CB6, right? So that's board business. So if you're doing that from mylawpractice.com email address, you shouldn't be, right? Because there's a potential conflict of interest. And so those are the items that you would then say, okay, either let me send it to the archival method that we come up with, or it should be considered board business and technically falls within the DORIS, the Department of Records and Information Systems
Right.
Retention Policy guidelines.
I'd like to recognize Stuart.
Oh, sorry.
Stuart?
Stuart. So,
Hi, I have 2 questions. First, you say to BCC archive at cb6.org. BCC, of course, is convenient if you don't want other people to start sending stuff there. On the other hand, BCC is kind of inconvenient if people reply to all. Because
Mhm.
now I have to, every time there's a reply, I have to copy it back to you. So is BCC part of the policy?
So, if you actually go, I think I listed twice, maybe 3 times. You don't have to BCC, or you don't have to copy or BCC the archival email address every single time. If there's a thread at the end of the thread, you could do that, so it includes all of the back and
No.
forth. Yeah,
That's
so
not my question. My question is, if we put archive at CB6 in the address, does it have to be BCC'd or can it be CC'd?
it can be CC, yeah,
Yeah.
there's no,
Okay, that was the only question. No, that was the question. I have one other question, which is sort of about the bylaws, but it's in here, so I'll ask.
yeah,
I have the impression I'm an outlaw because when I send emails, I put under my name Chair, Public Safety and Sanitation Committee. Am I not supposed to do that?
Good question.
Well, so first this is a draft policy. But I don't think that is something that you should not be able to do.
But it is in you're quoting the bylaws, you're referring to the bylaws. And it says,
What section
I
are you
mean,
referring to?
I'm sorry?
Where? I'm sorry, can you?
What
just
section
point
of
out where you're-
the document are you referring to?
I don't know if somebody could look up the word signature, I think, or signature line.
I can do that while you guys, Stu, I wish I had all the bylaws memorized, but what you're saying rings a bell. Give me a few seconds to look it up.
Okay,
So,
but here it is in the email policy.
yeah, so, right,
All right, section 1E of the bylaws says, with the exception of the chair and board members specifically authorized to represent the board by the chair, board members and public members of committees are not authorized to carry business cards or use stationery or electronic signatures that identify them as Community Board 6 members. In correspondence of any kind related to board business, board members and public members shall avoid using identifying information that might suggest a potential conflict of interest.
right, so. Committee chairs are appointed by the board chair, so my intent was to cover it
Yes.
that way, but I could be more explicit and say, and committee chairs. If that's your concern.
I thought part of the bylaws meant more like when I'm out and about talking to somebody, I'm not supposed to like use that as a,
So, yeah, so there's a few different,
but if I'm, let's say, as committee chair, reaching out to an organization or another department to get information or to try to schedule the visit or have them come talk to us or any kind of information that is related to the committee business, I thought it would be okay for me to say I am the chair of,
yes.
like, in
is
that
the
sense,
intent.
I feel like that should be allowed, otherwise.
Yeah, in that sense, you're designated by the
Right,
chair to
so,
act in
but
that.
my understanding of the bylaws that Jesus just read was more like. Outside of the committee and outside of the community board business, I can't like, go to dinner and then kind of use that as a way to.
And that has happened, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's how I understood that bylaw to be,
Yeah,
yeah.
you're
Right.
correct,
Okay.
you're correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stuart, did that answer your
You
question?
like using your own land use.
If I'm not gonna be arrested, I'm okay.
No, right, so.
Get arrested? Did
So,
you say?
yeah,
Not tonight.
We'll leave it for another day.
so yes, if you're a chair of a committee or chair of the board or a staff of the board and you're committing board business, you can use your title. That's not a problem. What has happened in the past is that members of community boards have either stated that they come to a bar and say, hey, your establishment is coming before my committee. next month.
Oh,
And I want a free drink. That has happened. There have been situations like
You brought
that
that over in the past.
Yes, yes.
Yikes.
So that,
Then they go on to be elected.
Elected president.
that's the behavior in TV sets, I think it's the, right, so if you're doing actual business on behalf of the board, you're communicating with DOT and you're, from transportation. That's not a problem. I don't think it says that anywhere, but if there's some, maybe it's just a general, insurance. But if there's any additional assurance that needs to be added, I'd be happy to clarify that, so.
I have a couple of quick comments, but I'd like to hear, are there any other comments? This has been useful. Yes, please.
I looked into the archiving component. I think first, the cheapest solution that I found for having an email account to everybody with archiving would be $4 per month per account, could be through Microsoft. So that put us somewhere around like $600-ish a year. I don't know if that fits with it. That's much more expensive than the original proposal I had put together, which was like $8 a year. I don't know if that's realistic within our budget.
Jesus, is that realistic within our budget?
Yes and no. No, if we're only considering the operating budget that we're given by the city. Yes, for a time, if we dip into the street fair fund.
Right. As
So the
treasurer,
policy
as treasurer,
can
there's not
happen
much.
without that,
Yeah.
just to be clear, right, that's not contingent upon discussion of policy. And I'll just call your attention to the table that I stole from Doris. In their policy in section 7, which is that. Depending on the role, there's 6, 8, or permanent retention required, so it might well be that. As you just mentioned, there's some options that could happen maybe for board members that have that lesser amount so that we don't have to incur that permanently. Versus district manager versus chair, so there doesn't have to be one fit all kind of approach.
Are there any other comments? My couple of quick comments are, that I mentioned this to Senator before the meeting. That clearly we need training on this, you know, when we bring in new members, and I think even members who've been around for a while need to be reminded. Like, well, that anything you send from your personal email account can be FOIA'd or foiled, depending on the circumstances, which I've learned tonight. There's a difference between FOIA or FOIA, and I did not know that.
I'm surprised that the borough president's office is not doing that anymore. I thought they used to do that. They just have the council.
They had training, but I think within the board, we
I
really
will
need
reach
to.
out to them and let them know they should be doing that.
I will mention that tomorrow. That's right. Yes.
So I was gonna say, I think that in terms of training, like if that, some things that seem like so obvious and common sense, like use of your position to that goal, it's like. I think sometimes that we forget that those things people do need training.
Yeah.
Also for our own library, we're making sure that we cover our bases, so yeah, definitely, I'm not sure, maybe you already know all the training, so definitely worth thinking about really. Cause yeah, I guess it's best not to say anything for granted, but assuming people understand it.
It's true.
Yeah, I think I'm just a goody two shoes. I actually as a member of BALC, I actually turned down a drink in a bar once that was offered to me.
Yes,
I-
restaurants, when they recognized me and I was like, no.
No, I've actually,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to
No.
claim
Yeah.
virtue here, but it's something we all have to be
Yeah,
aware of.
but, yeah, because the problem is, once you accept a drink, then it becomes.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, and, yeah, that's
Okay.
not good.
Yes, Jerry.
Yeah, just a thought. Since we have 8 or so people incoming, my top of the head recommendation is that we create an onboarding that includes this.
Thank you.
And their first assignment is to train all of the veterans.
That's a great idea.
So that's how you get to know and you get to know their capacity.
Wow.
That's a good idea.
becomes a teacher.
When Sandy and I are putting together the training for the new members,
Isn't it always?
I'll reach out to you.
You're gonna do that now.
Oh, no, we
Say no,
we take
but
volunteers.
that wasn't mine.
Are there any other comments? Yes, Jess.
Sorry,
No,
so,
no. that's-
I think it maybe is something good to bring up in the borough, in borough board, is that. That it's difficult for us to comply with this.
Yep.
It's expensive for us to set up email accounts for.
Right. We need budget.
We need help.
Sure,
and
it'd be
guidance
easier for them to have the
IT
weight of the
support.
borough.
Yeah,
Hey, Zeus, if I were gonna give a number tomorrow at Borough Board, just with a range. How much would we need to give each new member a properly maintained email account at CV6? A range.
I would say something in the ballpark of 5,000 extra dollars
Yeah.
a year just for that purpose.
Should do
I
it.
guess my
Not-
suggestion would be more that the borough president's office should issue and manage in a perfect world
Mhm.
email accounts.
That would be.
Because they have
a perfect world.
Resources, I
Yeah,
think.
I hope.
Yeah.
so.
That's a very good idea. too.
I'll raise this as a question tomorrow.
That's something that was explored during the borough presidency of Gail Brewer. And in the end, they found it to be unworkable. I don't know how ambitious this new borough president wants to be, but I can see how even for an office like the borough president's office that has like, 15 times the staff that we have, it could be unworkable.
Okay, but
Well,
I'll,
Didn't we,
I'm gonna
didn't we
re-
talk about this, with Jason, I think, and we talked about doing aliases under, CB6
So I
Or-
think where the problem comes in is if we wanna have proper archiving, which is policies primarily around, like, then the solution becomes much more expensive. We're not worried about archiving, we could set up email accounts, we're super cheap. If we wanna have archiving, they start to get very expensive.
yeah, that's my recollection.
Okay.
Okay, so any other comments? First of all, I want to thank Sandra for this is a really
Yes.
thorough. Wow.
That
We,
was really-
just, Jesus, you could help me on this. Do we need a vote on this from this committee to take it to full board, or what do we do?
It would be helpful to vote on this. I would probably, I don't know if Sandy's had a chance to see it. I would probably wait until she has had a chance to see it. And then go from there. But ideally, yes, this would be, voted on so that it's an official document that lives somewhere public, that the board has seen and agreed to. I would have said put it in the bylaws, but it's 20 pages long, so.
No, I don't think it needs to be within the bylaws. I think it's a, supportive policy.
It is,
Okay,
yes.
so I think the takeaway is that we'll, review this with Sandy, have a final discussion at the next meeting. I think that's and
Yeah.
it doesn't seem to be time urgency, and we have 1 month left before the summer, so we can go.
One thing I will say, if you guys are going to vote this as a policy of the board, like you need to be, my advice would be you need to really be intent on seeing it through and not just sort of, because there are things in the bylaws that, are in there, but everyone's like, whatever. And this is a lot here. And so if it's going to really be a policy and you're going to vote it as such, it really needs to be a policy. Otherwise, we kick the can down the road and revisit it when we have more resources. Because I will say, if you were to contact the borough president's office and say, I'd like a copy of the email that Jesus sent on March 1st, 2016, they would not be able to provide it. So I don't know, for an agency as low profile as we are, I don't know who really is watching this. But
I'm gonna start sending FOIL requests to meetings.
you're internal, you don't have to foil it. You can just ask.
Sandra, a final question, why the 5 days to forward was that just
Just
a
because.
random
I think
number?
If you don't put some sort of time limit on things, people don't do it.
No, I get it,
Yeah, it
but
was-
the 5 days was
It's
just
it's an arbitrary number.
arbitrary number?
25,
it's not,
10.
okay, it's not a fixed.
No,
Okay.
there's no requirement from that purpose, like, there's no policy that specifically says that. So the whole concept of the archival email is because we don't have the ability to do that internally.
You got
Right,
it.
so it's kind of like creating a secondary process with potentially no cost, but just a little bit of administrative overhead.
So if this email, which we're only sending like the last email instead of sending all of them, you want that last final email, as you were telling Stu, right? That it's good. If the exchange has been going on for 6 days or 5 days, or I'm just
Yeah,
want to get an
it would-
idea
it would
of what
be at the end of that, right? Threads could go on for months, I guess, right? It's not like,
well, hopefully not, but.
it's not a
Yeah.
chat where people are instantaneously responding. Sometimes you
Right.
get.
Right, so if I'm busy and I can't respond to a call, and now 2 days have gone by.
Yeah, it's not like there's a gotcha clock. It's like.
Hey, you never know, you're gonna.
That
send-
wasn't the intent anyway. I don't know.
Aren't you gonna do
No,
a FOIA?
Okay,
She's gonna
so
start timing you for every email she sends.
So this has been really helpful, and we've agreed we'll have one more final discussion of it at the June meeting when Sandy's here, so we can vote on it. Once again, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the statement of district needs relating to environmental concerns affecting citizens. And this has been very carefully drafted. Brendan, exactly who drafted?
I
this?
did.
You drafted this.
Yep.
Well, why don't you talk about it? Because it's really well done. It's very
Thank you.
specific. It cites things that I didn't know were citable. And so why don't you talk?
As I have said many times, I am a sucker for data. I think data
Right.
is what proves our point. And RuPaul was really excellent in giving us this document, which really helped when measuring the air quality. I also did some research regarding the sound of decibels when sirens go by. So, this was researched partly from what you gave me in part of the research that I did online. So, but yeah, that was me. I didn't chat GPT it, by the way. It was all straight up.
Yeah, you can tell by how you think.
So in the interest of completeness, I love this. I would only add, because of work that I've previously done, that I would love to see a correlation, as difficult as it is, between respiratory asthma rates. We did this with Mont
Let's
Haven,
do
for
it.
example, has the highest rates.
Yeah.
Right, so 1 in 4 in the South Bronx has asthma. So if we could take this and do that last step, maybe getting some data from the local hospitals, then we could see what the effect of having the least amount of.
So the data we have on there, it's actually more, because at one point, I know we did discuss the asthma rates when we were talking to NYU about this. The data that they were using was how many people walked into the emergency room or emergency department
Sure.
because of asthma,
Sure.
which won't
Mm.
which won't capture people who have asthma, right? Because not everybody who has asthma is gonna end up in an emergency room at some
Right.
point, right? I have mild asthma, but I haven't gone to the emergency room because of asthma.
Right.
So that data, I don't know how or where we would find or capture, but it's not gonna. Because what's in here is not gonna show that. It's only gonna show the number of people that went into the emergency room for it.
Right. Well, and this was more, Jerry, more of a general impact on the overall health of the community. And I remember when you brought up the trees at full board, where you mentioned that we need more trees.
So, yeah.
The particle
looking for something
pollution
like
and
this,
soot
something
is
that
enormous
that
in our district.
You've got
That's what I
7x
said.
the national average.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
One was Midtown, and then
So that's
Skytown,
fine.
Peter Cooper, and
And-
Turtle Bay, they were tied for fourth.
I don't think.
So
it's captured
that's the whole
what tree
district.
like that.
See,
Sure.
and these,
Essentially the whole district.
and that's important, that, you
Because,
know,
well,
we're getting all this,
the median.
and we don't have it,
obviously
we don't
is
even
the
have green
worst,
spaces to absorb it.
Right?
Well,
We don't
yeah, I
have
mean,
the
like,
green spaces to absorb
National.
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
the
Maybe not,
three-
Not
no,
very,
more.
yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
again, we were 7.
Where's it
higher
located?
than Haven, So I
You know,
bet
First
that
Avenue was
that's
pretty
lower.
barren.
There's a lot of.
Yeah.
Which, if anyone's listening, I know might not be
And
good.
even the existence of the cases of adult asthma.
Okay, so the question is, do we want to delay this to add data?
I haven't had
That
much
Jerry's
coverage
talked
of that.
about, or do we want to move ahead and move a reso on this evening? So I'm open to recommendations or thoughts. We have a draft resolution.
It's
On
not
this?
quite ready to be voted on, because there are still a couple of optional sections that have not been addressed. We've been focusing on like the main selection and the blurb for that. There's some optional sections. If Brendan can just scroll down a little bit more. There's an optional section where you can write a blurb. Actually, go up, I'm sorry. Up further. Okay, and a little bit more. There we go. There are these two sections for water, sewers, and environmental protection. I know at least the Health Committee has done some work on this regard in the last year. So maybe this is what was submitted. This blurb here is what was submitted last year. You should probably look it over the next few weeks, and then at the next exec, either bring a revised blurb for that, or decide we're not going to comment on that, we'll just delete it. And then there's one for sanitation services that is very succinct, but maybe the Public Safety and Sanitation Committee can offer some remarks or some words on this. But these are optional. You don't have to you don't have to submit anything to the city for this. But since it's there, we put it into the reso in case you do want to opine on these things. But if you
Okay,
do that, then you can use the time to come up with any new data for the main blurb next month.
So why don't we do this? So clearly the needs for sanitation services would belong with sanitation committee, and water, sewers, and environmental protection. Which committee do we want to charge with?
I mean, technically, health includes health, education, and environment,
Mhm.
but we've already got health. And we've got education that we're gonna be discussing.
So in other words, if we're gonna, is this,
I mean, we can tackle it at the next meeting and just
because
kind
it
of
looks,
discuss
it's
it.
pretty well drafted,
Yeah,
so let's,
well-
I just don't want us to leave here and then say, oh, nobody did that.
Yeah, we can take a look at it and I can discuss it at the next meeting.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so sanitation, we'll look at sanitation, and health and environment, we'll look at the needs for water, sewers, and environmental protection. And we will,
And these are
Consider
the three,
including-
and these are the three priorities that we're gonna send?
well, the priorities we have, as I understand it, we need one main priority, which is the environmental concerns affecting citizens.
Okay,
And that we put noise pollution as part of that.
As part of that,
was what we
right.
agreed, I believe, at the last
Yeah.
exec, unless
Yeah.
I'm misremembering. So what we're saying, I guess, is that we would be adding to the environmental concerns, considerations about the water, sewers, and environmental protection and sanitation services needs.
okay.
So they would, because my understanding is that they want this to be one of these categories we're supposed to pick. We fixed the environment, we picked the one on environmental concerns, and we put noise pollution as a subset of that. So is that agreed? We have.
Yep.
Move ahead like that?
Yep,
Great,
we're
got
good.
it.
We're good to
Okay.
go.
And so there we'll, thank you. And then thank you, Tanya, very much. So
You're very
so-
welcome.
Great.
Anytime you wanna throw data at me, I'll love it.
That's terrific. And so now we will hear from Jesus Perez, CV6 District Manager.
So it sounds like there's a storm there. So in the interest of getting you guys out, before the storm, I will waive my report.
Thank you.
All right, so now we will move on to a review of the next month's committee agendas, and I think we have an order there. I have an order in front of me. I just want to make sure it's the order on the agenda.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
the order of.
But here, so let's just start with transportation. Jason,
Yes, Brenda, would you mind adding the previous states?
Yeah. Also zoom in a little bit.
You need to zoom in a little bit more.
Shall we move the fan?
Yes.
Thank you.
be careful.
Works for me. Okay, so, first we're gonna continue to talk about Park Avenue. We talked about that last meeting, the meeting project, we decided to defer on passing a potential resolution until CP5 speaks about it. They'll be doing that next week. I will be attending the meeting. We'll discuss whether or not we're gonna pass a resolution around it, and if we do, what it says. Then we've got a discussion about the, water main project in Kips Bay on First and Second Avenues. We will likely discuss a resolution requesting for work hours to be extended during Monday to Friday. Currently, the only do work on Saturday, Sunday, which is slowing it down to the project. Then we've got co-naming policy. Hoping to set a new policy, clear guidelines around co-naming. And lastly, 23rd Street and Second Avenue, we'll have a resolution around a signal change and study that asked for asked to put changes, make changes to the signal at that location. And then last, but.
Any discussion? Thank you. Seeing none, I will move on to to Parks and Cultural Affairs. Neil?
So we'll have a presentation about the urban forest plan. It's probably going to be the 2040, which will be an update. I think currently with the trees, the amount that we have, it would go from, I think, 23% of New York City is covered or has trees. It would go up to 30%. There's no budget for it yet, but that's what the proposal is. The presentation would be from committee members, so it's really, I guess, in the incipiency of putting everything together, and we'll see where it goes from there. But, that's the goal. Daniel Bernstein was nice enough to help out with this, and he'll be leaving the board, unfortunately. Yeah, he's a loss. So, he'll be doing that. And then the second one, we have Scandinavia House to, they'll come and just give, I guess, the general presentation is we're looking to meet different groups, cultural institutions in the city, or in the district, and then we'll have the report. That's it.
Thank you.
You wanna add
Any discussion or comment?
Old school.
Okay, seeing none, thank you, Neil. Seeing none, we'll move on to public safety and sanitation. Stuart?
Well, the goal is to talk about policing and crime prevention, and especially how one can personally protect oneself. So far, of the 4, 5 parties that I've invited, none have responded, so I don't know what will actually happen, but that's, I have good intentions, so I'll see in another few days. And we'll also add that core, question about sanitation, to the agenda.
Brendan, is that
Could you say-
good with you?
Could you say that last piece again, Stu, about sanitation on the agenda?
The core, what we just discussed about the core, the resolution, on core, whatever we call it, the core needs for the district. What was it called again?
District needs.
District needs statement, needs for sanitation services, lines 56 to 58. Anne were here, she would be happy.
It was what we just discussed about the core.
It's lines 56 to 58 on page 2 of the document. Right.
Brendan, I'll add that language later. Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Any questions for Stu? Seeing none, we'll move on to budget and government affairs, and my understanding is neither Steve nor Reshma is here. Is there anyone who wants to speak for the committee? Seeing none.
I'm on budget, but I don't pretend to speak for the chairs.
Good strategy.
I mute. Yeah,
Stay out
no,
of trouble.
I don't.
And then we'll move on to health and environment. Rupal.
So we have a presentation from NYU Langone on heat stroke, which is just in time because we are dealing with that heat wave right now. And we're going to continue discussions of the statement of district needs, and we will add the one from tonight to the list.
Yes, there's been something that's come up, but we've received a couple of emails. Do you want me to, you mind if I just?
Yeah, if you get any more information on all of that, that would be helpful.
They
But
cut, for some reason, the Department of Youth and Children Services is cutting school contracts for middle schools in District 2 and District 3 for the summer. And, or in general, and we're trying to get an explanation of why. We've reached out and we haven't heard anything back, and as soon
who's
as I
gonna
do,
replace it?
I'll
Is there gonna be a replacement? Like, there was really no discussion or communication with anything. It was just kinda, it was just a surprise for everybody, including the school principals.
Yeah, and there was a petition that someone claims has 2,000 signatures on it, and
Yeah.
that's 200 is a lot, so.
How did you learn about this from the principal?
No, people
Karen?
emailed the board office and
Yeah,
Brendan
well,
emailed that.
But the board office,
But it-
literally gotten
hundreds of emails about this. Like, we had to. Yeah, which we almost never get that many emails about anything.
Yeah.
So, granted, some of them are like form emails, but still,
Yeah.
we seldom get that many emails about a specific topic.
So,
We'll amp up
John is
the
gonna try to
noise.
get some more information, but as of now, we just don't know anything. All we know is what the parents have emailed us. We have no communication from anybody else, so we wanna know more about what happened or what's going on.
Yeah, okay, so, and I'm gonna keep on top of this because I'm trying to figure it out, but I know that this is a prospective part of the agenda, but retrospectively, you had a great meeting with the superintendent of the district too. Do you want to comment just briefly on?
Yes, last month, the superintendent Kelly McGuire came to our meeting and he was really, really generous with his time, answered all the questions, gave us a lot of detail, a lot of information. He helped us out a lot with our district needs part of things for the youth and education portion of it, so that was really, really helpful. He also talked a little more about like what really the district schools need, which was mainly like two things that he pointed out, which is one, just facilities, like not just the buildings needing maintenance and plumbing and all of that, but also the capacity, like with this class size mandates. A lot of the schools are gonna need more space, so there are some options of like using classrooms or spaces that are already there, but that's not gonna be enough. We're gonna need like just more space, more schools, more building, more, actual space. So that's one thing, but that's gonna take longer. And the other thing is like after school programs, which is where this comes in, because now we were already like, he was already saying that there's already very few options available, especially for people who, like, all the options available, first of all, there aren't that many to begin with, and whatever is available is very expensive. So a lot of families in the district that have been living here for like generations, and maybe they're not, millionaires or make $500,000 a year, or, like they're having trouble basically paying for after school activities for after school programs for their kids. School gets done at like 3.
Right.
You don't get out of work until 5 or 6. So what do you do for those hours if you can't afford another $2,000-3,000 a month? So that was the other thing he pointed out, that's the other major need that we have in the district. And now with the schools just kind of canceling the contract, that was one of the few options available, like that's actually gonna leave us in a worse off position. So
No, and it just emphasized that parents depend on schools for so much more than school.
Mhm.
Food.
And
Daycare.
food.
Yeah. So-
It's a personal matter, but it's
So
one
yeah,
of the
if we get more information,
Yeah, I'll let you
then
know.
we may add a discussion of that to the agenda, but that's a tentative on what information we can manage to get.
I'll do it. I
Yeah.
wanna keep bothering them.
So-
Okay, thank you very much. Any further questions for Rupal? Seeing none, let's move on to Alec and housing and homelessness.
Next month, we're going to have a presentation from HPD about affordable housing and other housing related issues. And then we're gonna open it up to discussion and we are also going to continue our discussion on the future of the 30th Street Men's Shelter. We had drafted a resolution which was shared with the committee ahead of time for the May meeting. However, several members of the committee thought that it was imperfect and needed some work. And even if we all agreed that it was great, we didn't have enough members for quorum to vote on it anyway. So we're going to continue that conversation next month, as well as a continued discussion on the fiscal year 2028 statement of district needs. We have a really great draft language, and I think we're going to finalize that so we can share it with the land use committee.
Anybody have any questions for Alec? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on. Anton, land use, waterfront and landmarks, Maya.
So we were supposed to have our meeting next week, but we had it this week, for Memorial Day. So we did do some, I guess, retrospective comments on there was 4 buildings that are being proposed by landmarking that was originally with Neil when landmarks was over there, and so we passed those. There was a lot of discussion on the Armenian church. I feel like there's going to be a lot of discussion about that again when it goes to full board. And then we passed a resolution on public restrooms and pops and trying to make that a mandate. And our district needs, which we're working in conjunction with the Housing and Homeless Committee. And then for June, we're going to do, it was a comment made at the last full board on making the kind of process for how we also do certificate of appropriateness, because we just passed one last month at full board for just the general, how do we review new landmark requests? And so we're gonna have a reso on that. And then there's also been some stuff going on online about 780 Third Avenue pops, about the hostile environment that the security and the building owner is kind of creating there, not letting the public sit there. So we're gonna talk about that. And I also encourage other committee members and I guess other community members broadly on the board and the community to like know any other pops that have a history, new or old, of doing this, because I'd like to address it broadly. And then we're also going to do a discussion potentially. It might be post-summer. It depends on how much we can provide, but on petitioning LPC to expand their support for building owners that have landmark buildings. That was a big discussion in our committee. And then also, yeah, another one for post-summer, but I'll talk about it.
Anyone have any questions for Maya?
Glad to see my Instagram doom scrolling.
Send it to me though.
There's a whole account for it.
That's, I stumbled.
Oh, you did? Yeah, I did too.
I love the civic engagement doom scrolling.
I mean, I did mention at the meeting though that, you know, it is an issue for DOB because they're obligated to allow the public to use it, so DOB could conceivably give them a violation.
I mean, they're non-compliant.
They're non-compliant, yeah.
The latest Instagram post was that somebody was successfully able to sit down.
Was successfully what?
Sitting down.
Able to
I
sitting
mean, but
down?
they also had the vines going over the benches too. I don't know if anybody remembers that. It was like a big problem, like it was almost.
It was a constituent service request.
It was almost like the foliage was intentionally placed so that it could prevent people from sitting. It was, I have photos of it.
Sneaky.
Wow, weird, yeah, it was
Sneaky.
like crazy.
I just think the greatest thing is says welcome, like in.
Sure, at the Whitney Biennale right now, there's an exhibition of public signage that is in conflict.
Oh.
So it's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
And it reminds me back when Stringer was controller, I think the data was that 74% of pops were in violation.
That's across the whole city.
Wow, 70%?
Yeah, back then.
Well, one pop at a time.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
I'm
huge.
gonna check out these snippets. see if
Wow, we
can
could
cite it
have
or-
a summer pops problem.
Yeah, sixth
Yeah.
floor. in the
Okay.
back.
Okay, any other comments on this good topic? Okay, thank you. And finally, Anton, but not least, business affairs and licensing.
Awesome.
Oh, boy.
Ran out of store.
Okay,
Brendan, it's in the May.
no, I think Anton, on business affairs. Oh, there it is.
Oh, May's agenda, or May's agenda in quotes.
That's the agenda for 2 weeks from now. Looks familiar.
What I say, usual application?
Did you want to comment on
No, no,
Ball?
I was
Okay.
after this.
So any other questions or and Tom, do you want to have anything else? I know there's a lot going on.
And bulk handbook,
Right.
that's fine. Nothing else.
Any other questions for Anton? Thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on and to old and new business. So if any member of the committee has any old or new business, please raise your hand and I'll be happy to recognize you. Yes.
Yeah, I had a question about it. What committee deals with potholes?
Oh,
Safety?
potholes.
Because I don't know if like everyone heard about this, but.
Oh, I know.
The sinkhole.
Well,
Oh, no, that was a manhole.
Just, yeah,
Oh,
just,
man, hold on, a pothole?
No.
No, the manhole cover was off.
Drop.
Yeah, yeah,
It'd be a very big-
yeah, just for the benefit of people listening, there was an incident on,
2 days ago.
at a supposedly very nice part of Fifth Avenue, where a woman got out of her car
That's the one.
and according to the news reports, a large legal vehicle traveling on the street had pulled up the manhole cover, which apparently can happen, and this woman, I don't look directly where I'm stepping when I get out of a car, tragically fell down
And died.
and died. Yeah, so this was,
And my question was, it was on 52nd and Fifth. I don't know of any parking spots on 52nd and Fifth. I don't know how she parked her car on 52nd and.
this is late at night.
But it was late at night, but
Yeah.
you know, she just.
I just wonder if that's an issue that's.
yeah, which if, I guess.
It's like if you weren't illegally parking.
Well, that's what
Blame
I
the
mean.
victim, right?
That's not what I mean.
All right,
What I mean
it's
is,
a
it was
serious
just so, it was such an odd and strange
Yeah.
incident.
Thankfully.
So are you suggesting a committee might
I just don't, it's,
express concern about this?
yeah, if that's an issue that, when that, it's one thing if you're like, oh, that could, if the fact that happened, it's. I'm not even sure
I
what,
think it was a kind of like.
Who has control
Yeah.
over the, looking at,
Yeah.
That was a
Jason
really
here?
Appreciate
Yes.
it.
yeah, what is it, DOT, transportation thing?
She
or-
just fell, no, I didn't hear.
But, yeah, do you wanna comment?
I have a very full agenda,
Okay.
so I don't know if it's gonna be next month.
Yeah.
Brendan,
From a service request standpoint, the Department of Transport, like since, like we do get calls and emails on occasion about loose manhole covers.
oh, really?
Yeah, on occasion, the Department of Transportation looks at the issue and then reassigns it to the appropriate entity based on who owns the manhole cover. Sometimes it's the Department of Environmental Protection, sometimes it's Con Edison, sometimes it's someone else.
I think it's a topic that's worth monitoring.
Yeah, just so-
Anybody loses their life unnecessarily like that.
So we just don't let it die. Is transportation the right committee to have on your,
Yes.
the thought process?
Yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
because someone
And-
died, so it's.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, years ago, there was also incidents of electrocution
Yes.
with the
Yes,
salt.
With the road salt.
With the road salt, it corroded the electrical wiring underneath it, yeah,
Yes,
and
then
dogs
there's
died.
water that
Lots of
pools
dogs died,
At the curb cuts and stuff.
One
yeah.
woman almost died.
yeah.
She did, there's a code name street
She-
in
she
the East
died?
Village.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like 11th or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, on that cheerful note. Okay, but let's just, because this was a fatality on our streets and, you're gonna keep this in mind and,
Consider it for future.
but certainly, if there's any data in the, Brendan, where would we find, if anywhere, data in the district on
3-in-1
311 reports?
Yeah, there's something called, I think it's Board Stat, which shows like how many 311 requests there are for different types of issues in each community board district. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess the takeaway is this is something that would belong on transportation's agenda. And is it an imposition to ask the board office to just not tomorrow morning, but sometime in the next week or so, just see if there are any complaints that have come in or to 311 within the district? Is that?
Yeah, we should be able to take a look and see how many 311 complaints there have been about manhole covers in our district
Okay,
in the
all right.
past.
Well, we were joking a little bit, and I just want to make sure people know we take this very seriously if someone dies. Okay, any other old or new business? If volunteering for more, very good.
Yes, I had a thought on, was interested in the committee's feedback on potentially discussing a code of conduct for our meetings. In transportation in particular, we tend to invite a lot of excited and passionate public comments, and many times that borders on inappropriate behavior. There's conduct that board members are bound by via Robert's rules, but that doesn't apply to public speakers. But I propose that it may make sense for us to consider a code of conduct that would. We would expect board members and members of the public to abide by in participating in our meetings.
Are you thinking of a recent transportation
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah.
Can we have an
Back in
example?
42-minute.
Yeah.
But
Transportation.
But
What
Okay,
is the
so
example?
why don't you just let people in on the.
Yeah, let us know what it is.
I mean, I think there's a general theme as well, but, I mean, specifically, in our last transportation committee meeting, we were discussing Park Avenue. We opened it up for discussion. The conversation was mostly orderly. We had a particular comment, that was really, was largely off topic and, we became sort of like irate and angry in a way that was not productive part of the conversation. I cut that person off and moved on to the next
You
meeting.
handled it well.
that's all
Let me,
you can do. is
Yeah,
you gotta
I, two
redirect
thoughts on
the
that, and
meeting.
first of all, I agree that, excuse me, then I'll recognize Neil, but, I think what you did in the meeting was appropriate, and I think Jesus's famous 3-minute timer is one good way to deal with, situations like that, where in this case, a person spoke and, Jason had gone to the trouble of getting someone from the DOT to a meeting to speak about a specific topic. And a member of the public had an important but unrelated, well, marginally related issue to the topic and was quite incensed about it, because public have a right to be. And, but it was not on topic, and Jason very politely and properly asked her, do you have a question? And, the person was unhappy with that resolution. So I think one way to handle that is the 3 minutes, just to suck it up for 3 minutes. The other way is to say, okay, this is, where we draw lines, but that's a much broader discussion. But I will open it up for comments. I know, Neil, you had that, you asked.
Just redirect, it sounds like, that's what he did.
Yeah.
It isn't.
I guess my proposal with the code of conduct would be that then we could point to, something in particular, say like, well, like, this was in accordance with our code of conduct, this comment is out of bounds of our code of conduct, and therefore we're moving on to the next speaker.
Yeah, I don't know whether I'd put a code of conduct, because that sounds like someone did something wrong, and I'm gonna recognize Joe, on that, I think.
Yeah, I was okay, I don't think it would be possible to enforce code of conduct to the members of the public, but I think it is important on the chair to kind of lead that conversation in the right direction. So it sounds like it's the right thing, I wasn't there.
I have memories of the full board meeting with the Gramercy, which was truly, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Is that like a flashback of?
Which I found the conduct by that gentleman highly
Intimidating.
inappropriate and intimidating and actually somewhat belligerent. So I was very happy to see the way that Sandy just cut him off, but at one point I actually was concerned
Yeah.
because I could see physical interaction between a couple of people in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And plus the way he
without
indicates what's going
Without
on.
referring to any individual who might or might not have been speaking at a board meeting, there was one meeting this year, but the only time I was getting ready to call 911,
Really?
so.
Wow.
might have
I missed that one, I guess.
We have, in the, at least for the full board, I think we have a line about an expectation of mutual civility, some paraphrasing, but.
It's in the preamble that.
Yeah. So I think, whether or not you wanna just like. Put an accent on a syllable, it's there, and you did right, I don't know why I would have done any better. Right, in sort of saying initially, do you have a question, maybe a little sweet, but.
Well, I think the main way we wanted to address that particular incident going forward was time limits.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. But I guess I was suggesting maybe we needed something on top of that as well in some instances, like looking at the full board as an example. I don't know if we want to allow somebody to continue or 3 minutes if they're acting irate and potentially violent.
Yeah, I think this is, excuse me, go ahead, Justin.
He caught me.
I got it right every time.
Is there a legal standard to that?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. We would have to do a little homework on.
Yeah.
And, you know, my experience, and Sandra's got a lot more than I do, but is that generally people will stay within, you know, the limits. And so the idea of a code of conduct for people attending meetings, that's a little difficult to envision, but I think we could have a good discussion about what's appropriate at a meeting and put that on the agenda of exec at some point, because I think it deserves more than just a end of the meeting discussion.
There's also you know, the law doesn't require that we allow members of the community to speak at committee meetings. They only are entitled to speak at full board. And then there's the question of, if we let one person speak, is there some obligation to give other people more time? And there's nothing in black letter law that says that.
To Stuart's point, the script for chairs at the beginning of meetings says public will be invited to speak if there is time. So that is already sort of embedded in how we talk, but I think as a board, you know, we tend to bend over backwards to listen to people, so we have to balance those things. But I agree with Jason that this is a good topic to, you know, to put on for exec in the future, just to talk about, because especially when we bring new members on, and especially I'm just thinking now when we're doing these chair handbooks. You know, a generic topic in a chair handbook could be handling situations like this, you know, where things get a little testy. And, you know, I spent 6 years on a school board, so I'm used to testy meetings, but you know, we really might want to consider making that part of a handbook, part of the chair's handbook. But are there any other comments? Stuart, do you have any other comment? I want to make sure I didn't cut you.
No,
okay. Good. Okay. No, I started speaking when you were speaking. I wanted to be sure I didn't speak over you. Are there any other old or new business? I think this has been a productive and interesting meeting, and I still don't have an answer on the after-school programs. I'm looking for it. So this meeting is adjourned at 7:43. Could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is adjourned at 7:43. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Watch enough of these.